Well, welcome, Practical VR. 3 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, go.
Michael, I'm with PracticalVR, and we have built a real-time analytics platform for mixed reality. The Microsoft HoloLens is the first of many devices to come that will change the way we interact with the world around us. We'll go from having our digital world trapped in the screens on the wall, the phones in our pockets, to unleashing that into the environment around us. So let me tell you about our first step, how we're getting our foot in this industry. And that's by empowering those early creators with the tools and analytics they need to build great things. This is Greg, and he's an early HoloLens developer. This is one of his users, and you'll see here we're collecting all sorts of data from this environment, every tap of the finger. She's looking around the room, we're tracking that, and we're tracking how long she's looking at these objects, as well as mapping the whole environment around her. But Greg has a problem. He has a big problem. People aren't sticking around in his application. So he logs into our portal, and he starts exploring, and he sees those holograms we saw earlier, they were moving way too fast. People don't like that. They were frustrated. So he's able to update his app, push that experience out, and in real time, see if that problem was solved. And guess what? It was. So Greg's going to stick with our platform for all of the other inputs we provide too. So now you've seen the power of our analytics platform. Let me introduce you to stage 2. And this is where it gets really interesting, because what we've built is a layer between applications, a layer that will let anyone in any place share holograms. I walk into my friend's house, and if he wants to share something digital with me, he has to throw it up on that screen. But we think with our platform, it should be a whole lot easier than that. I should be able to walk through his door and instantly see his beachfront property. This has the same application to retailers. No one should have to interrupt their experience to buy a cup of coffee. So they should be able to deploy that menu in real time the second I walk through the door. So with stage 3 of this plan, when users share holograms with each other, they're sharing data with us. And we'll use that data to empower our artificial intelligence engine to recognize and confirm almost any action out there, software or physical, which will open up those APIs and let our developers define the future of how we work, play, and learn. This is an example of what we can do. Imagine if we could gamify every action out there. This is the future. It's going to be a practical future. So join us and let's build this together. Thank you.
All right, Stuart, what did you think about the Google Analytics of the real world?
So I guess I have to understand, it's kind of cool that you're talking about sharing holograms between users. That presumes, of course, that the users are wearing their HoloLens all the time, and or if they're shopping or riding their bike. Is that the kind of future you're talking about? And is that specific to the HoloLens, or do you do this for other platforms as well?
Great. Keep going.
What is your go-to-market strategy with this?
And? Sure for that.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right, questions.
Or general feedback. You can say you're confused by it or inspired.
I'm curious what you see the early drivers are of this technology and the early business applications.
Yeah, it'd be great to get a sense of the number of developers who are currently building for HoloLens and get a sense of where you see that trajectory going over time as well.
Gina.
From my perspective, I was just curious about whether the data is driving, are you guys motivated by the data or by the applications and how the two things work together? Because it seemed like it was a little bit of both.
Okay, and 2 minutes on the clock for feedback.
Sure. So this is without a doubt going to replace the smartphone. We will wear these devices for everything we do because that's the brick phone of this technology, right? We will have the smallest low profile factor. I just saw actually contact lenses the other day. A group of researchers are working to put this form factor into a contact lens. As far as our go-to-market strategy, it's just that. It's working with those very early developers to get our platform integrated in as many places as possible. And some of the enterprise applications of this are endless. I mean, what we saw there is an example of how an employer could monetize every action their employee does in real time. And that employee would love it because they get paid in real time in the same respect. So to look at this industry, the early developers that we're working with right now, there's 160 apps on the store. So last year, there was about 60. In December of last year, there was about 60. And it's exploded over the past few months, and it's going to be an exponential curve because Microsoft is not just looking at Windows holographic for augmented reality or mixed reality, they're also deploying consumer virtual reality devices later this year. And on top of that, they're not the only ones looking at this. You've heard of a project, that we're waiting on to take a magical leap. That's what we're looking towards too. We're going to support all of these platforms so we can be the layer between not just the applications, but we can be a layer between these platforms. Because if we wait on the big brands and the manufacturers to decide what they want to do, well, then we're going to have a very segregated world of mixed reality, right? Nobody will be able to see what they want to see with each other. So that's a very important piece here.
What are the chances that Apple has mixed reality, augmented reality glasses in the next 24 months?
Yes, so there's a lot of rumors that they're working with Carl Zeiss to build some optics right now. There's a lot of other hardware manufacturers, like Microvision is working on something called LiDAR. Well, you know about LiDAR with self-driving cars, but they're working on something that can fit into a device the size of a smartphone. So rumors that they're working with Apple, rumors that they're working with Microsoft, all the players are looking at this to be the next smartphone. So we're jumping in and getting established early.
All right, let's hear it for Let's hear it for Practical VR.